What is going on, guys? This is Matt with the Existential Man Podcast, and thank you for tuning in to our very first live stream episode. Our normal format is the general podcast. We talk about all kinds of different topics and subjects and things of that sort, but in particular tonight, for our first live stream, trying to keep it low key, we have received a whole bunch of questions, myself, Kareem, and Richard, when he was still working with us on the podcast. We did receive some comments, questions, things of that sort that are long overdue to be discussed. And so now that we've moved and are in the new studio area and everything's kind of, it's not all the way set up, but it's pretty close to set up where we can actually do some live video. We're going to start bringing some episodes to you live over video. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Everything seems to be working okay on our end. So before we get too deep into it, I will just kind of give you some housekeeping things. We are going to start doing live stream episodes, like I said, probably going to be every other week. For now, we're trying to work out a schedule where both Kareem and I can work on doing this together. But obviously he's not able to be here tonight. So you've got me, and that's part of the reason why we're just going to do the Q&A tonight. So that way we can kind of get some of these questions out of the way, get some of these comments answered for people that have been wondering, waiting, maybe. And we'll get them knocked out, and we can start fresh. Hopefully you guys are doing well tonight on a Friday night. I know last weekend was a great holiday weekend for everybody. Hope everybody took the time to kind of remember those that have given the ultimate sacrifice for some of the things and the freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States. And for those of you that are abroad that aren't aware of Memorial Day, that's kind of what it's for, is to it's our way to remember those that have died in the line of duty or in the line of battle to protect the freedoms and things that we do hold dear and sacred here in the United States. So without further ado, let me get into some questions. I do apologize. I am going to have to take my eyes off the camera for a minute so I can get to my laptop and check out some of these questions. So give me just a moment, guys. I'll pull these up. And I did make some notes, and we can just run through these and go from there. So give me just a moment here. Pull this up. Here we go. All right. So the first comment, actually, there's two of them. They both kind of said the same things. Both of them are a couple of buddies of mine from back home, Brandon and Patrick. You should do a live stream. Well, here we are. You're welcome. So hopefully we're going to start making this a regular thing, and you guys can tune in and get some more of your information that you like to hear. Here's one that kind of made me laugh. I don't know if she was trying to be anonymous or what, but just a heads up, and I'm not making fun of you, but just be aware, there's no signature or anything like that. There's no name, but your name did come through on the email, so I will just leave it as Emily. Why are you so misogynistic, and why do you hate women? It made me laugh because I don't hate women. I don't think anybody that has been on this show hates women. I think we all love women. The whole point of the Existential Man is it has nothing really to do with women. It has to do with men and addressing men's specific issues. I have a wife that I love dearly. I have 3 daughters that I love with all of my heart. And I hope for the best, and I am all for, I am a champion of women's progress and growth and movement, just as I am of men's. What I think my issue is, and where it may be, at least me personally, I can't speak to guests that have been on. I can't even necessarily speak to Kareem's specific motives or Richard's when he was on, but my thing is take the issues of men's issues, men's mental health, men's rights, fathers' rights, whatever. When you talk about the growth and expansion and the wellness and the flourishing of women, I'm all for it. What I'm not for is the growth and flourishing and expansion of one group of people at the expense of another. And you can talk about men and women. You can talk about minorities versus majorities. I don't care. I think there's plenty of room to go around. I think there's plenty enough pieces of the pie for everybody where nobody has to sacrifice or be taken advantage of for another group of people to succeed. Period. End of story. And so what I have seen, at least my personal experience, and what scares me for my sons is the fact that the progress of the women's movement in the last 20 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, has been decidedly at the expense of men, at least from what I see. Now, not entirely, not completely, not wholly, but there's a lot of things that where, in order for women to do XYZ, men have to give up ABC. And I just don't think that that has to be the case. But more importantly than all of that is simply using the resources, tools, and benefits available to women that are not made equally available to men. And I guess the whole point is that I'm trying to get at is why. Are men inherently more capable of doing things than women? No, I don't think so. That's one of the things that I wholly agree with feminist movement is like, I think women are just as capable as men of doing things in the world, of working jobs, of earning an income, of taking care of a household, of taking care of children, of being the primary or sole breadwinner for a family. Like, there is no, I don't think there's any reason why a woman can't succeed in this world, in whatever way that she wants to. I think there's caveats to it, though. But what I'm saying is that when you look at things like federal and state benefits, and you look at things like available shelters, resources, and recovery tools to help somebody get back on their feet, there is vastly, and I mean by an exponential amount, there is vastly more resources available to women than there are to men. I personally know a handful of men who are single fathers who bring in a single income, and they're responsible for taking care of their household and their multiple children in most cases, without help from a spouse or a girlfriend or anything else. And, obviously, as the single parent in the household, they're responsible for doing all the things that maybe a single mother would be responsible for, being around for the kids' doctor's appointments, which means taking off of work, taking off of school, making sure that the kids have everything that they need, even if that means sacrificing themselves. And a handful of these men that I know have applied for assistance and have been basically denied. Nope, you have a job, nope, you earn too much money, or nope, you are capable of taking care of this yourself. For whatever the reason is, they've been denied state and federal benefits. Whereas you take a woman in the same situation, and more often than not, they are granted those same benefits for whatever reason. And I'm not faulting the women for being granted those benefits. I think if you need it, you need it. But that goes across the board. And I feel like there's, getting back to my point, I am not a misogynist. I don't hate women. I love women. I love my wife. I love my daughters. I think every woman should take the opportunity to succeed that she possibly can. And there's plenty of opportunities out there. What I don't think needs to happen is that any group needs to suffer for the benefit of another group. Period. End of story. So I hopefully that clarifies things a little bit. And, maybe, if Emily, if that's your real name and you want to, or if you are a listener and you want to maybe come on and talk about some of your misgivings with some of the stuff that we have to talk about, we do have a link where you can apply to be a guest on the Existential Man. And I will put that in the show notes once the show is actually published, and I can make that public and available for everybody. So that's not just for Emily, that's for anybody that thinks that they have something valuable to offer. And that's the key. We're here to help you, be it a man, be it a woman, whatever gender you are, you want to listen in. Hopefully we are providing some value to you, because that's the whole point. Right, is to bring some of these issues to light and hopefully give you a different perspective than maybe you've been experiencing for yourself. And so, yeah, Emily, if that's something that you'd like to do and you'd like to be a guest, you can come join me and Kareem on the show, and you can kind of talk about some of your issues and explain to us why you think that we are wrong. And, that's kind of what makes the world go round, is we don't all have to agree, but the important thing is to have the dialogue. So again, thank you for your comment. I appreciate the opportunity for me to kind of address that misunderstanding about what we are all about. The whole goal, like I said, is essentially to make men, or to inspire men and myself through this journey as well, to become the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can, so we can show up right in the world for those that depend on us and for ourselves. So hopefully that clarifies things. Thank you, Emily. All right. Mike from Chicago. What's going on, Mike? Says, can you share some tips for managing work-related stress and preventing burnout? Yes and no. I think I've addressed this on the show before, but if I haven't, I suffer from anxiety. I have very bad anxiety. And I have dealt with depression before. I'm not currently in a depressive state, but I've been there. I've been in a depressive state since I've started the show, at one point or another. And it makes me very unmotivated, and it makes me feel burnt out, and it makes me feel like I'm under the weight of the world. The key is, well, at least the key for me, number one, I don't know how bad the stress is, right? So obviously without any quantification, I can't tell you whether, if out of a scale of 1 to 10, your stress is at like a 10, or if it's at a 1, or if it's at a 5. Only you can decide that. But I think it's important to talk to people, number one, because nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change outside of your direct influence without communication. And the only thing that you have control over is you. So your reactions, your actions, your words, that's the only thing you can manage, right? So without communication, you can't, without communication and expressing where you're at mentally, physically, emotionally, whether it's stress in all of those areas, you can't properly express that to somebody else, right? So without that key piece, which is clear and open communication, nobody's going to understand where you're coming from. And so that's step number one, is get out of your own head, because I know as men, we tend to kind of get lost in our own thoughts. And I don't know about you, but I kind of grew up, not specifically because anybody directly said this to me, but it was inferred that, like, nobody cares about your problems. Nobody cares about your problems because they all got problems of their own. And on some level, I think that that's probably true. But I think that the people that are close to you and that care about you, they do care. And I think you need to be open and honest and talk to people about where you're at. And, only you can decide how comfortable you are and how in depth you want to go with sharing that information. But at least in an effort to reduce some of the stress and anxiety that might be going on with work, find an outlet, talk to somebody, talk to a coworker, talk to somebody that you trust at work, and, go from there. As far as burnout, I am bad at this. I tend to push myself beyond what I think my limits are. Or let me rephrase. I tend to push myself beyond my limits because I try not to pay attention to them. I don't know if that's something that is new from my experience with the military or if that's something that I've always done. Um, I will say this: I've always been one that likes to learn things the hard way, and so um, I don't always listen to the voice in my head that's saying, "Okay, slow it down. It's time to take it easy for a minute. Like you're running on empty, and you need to chill for a minute." And so I think being very self aware, or learning to be self aware, and trying to start listening to your mind and your body to tell you when you've had enough, and when you need to take a step back. And a lot of it comes down to making sure you schedule and even though sometimes it's uncomfortable for us as guys because we feel like we have a lot of responsibilities and things that need to get done, and there's always something that needs to get done, it seems like. Taking the time to do the things that help you recharge your batteries, right? So for me, this is one of them. I actually enjoy podcasting. I enjoy getting on here and talking to you guys and sharing information and hopefully helping you guys out in situations that maybe are not easy for you to deal with, or at least lending my experiences with it, and hopefully something that I can share will help. But a lot of it comes down to you, and so however you feel like you need to do that. Whether it's maybe you like to game, maybe you like to play music, maybe you like to write, maybe you like to read, go fishing, whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that you take the time to do that, to recharge your batteries, to get away and just chill, right? So, Mike, thank you so much for the question. Hopefully what I've shared here, at least from my personal experience, helps you out. But just remember, communication, I think, is key, and making sure you're taking time to recharge the batteries, right? All right. Excuse me. Alex from, Denver. You're right around the road. All right, cool. Alex, not right around the road from me currently, but I grew up just south of you in the Springs. So love the area. My brother's out there. And so, yeah. How can I break free from the cycle of procrastination and develop better time management habits? Alex, I don't know, man. If you can find the secret, tell me, because that's one thing I am not good at. I do procrastinate. I put things off to the last minute. A lot of it has to do with what I had said in my response to Mike was I tend to overload myself with things because there's always something that needs to be done. What I feel like we do a lot of times is we waste a lot of time doing things that are not that important so that we don't have to put off the things that we need to do that we know are important, at least for me. So look, man, I don't know. Maybe that's something I need to do is I'll make a note of that. We should get somebody on here that's good at time management and can help give us some hacks for that, some life hacks for that, because it is something that I would like to get better at, is being better at planning, being better at kind of scheduling things out. I don't want to get to the point where my entire life and my entire day of every day of my life is scheduled out, but having kind of a game plan. I guess that's what I would give you, is develop some way for you to have a game plan, whatever that is. If it's using your phone calendar to do that, whether it's writing it, sometimes like I find if I put it in my phone, it's too easy to hit ignore. But then the flip side is if I write it down in a physical book, it's also easy to put off to the side and forget about. So I've not found a good way. I've been working with a new program and I haven't read the book that it's based on, but I need to do that. But it's called Chaos Control. It's an app for your iPhone, and you can get it on your Mac or whatever, or your computer. I think it's available on Android as well. But it kind of, you just put it's almost like a brain dump. So you brain dump everything in there, and then at some point you have to go back in. You're supposed to go back in and review it and move things to the important side, to the unimportant side. Matter of fact, let me pull it up here. I wish I could pull it up and show you. I have not figured out how to do that just yet, but I will. Let me see here. Chaos Control. Okay, so you have your chaos box, right? So you go in there and you just brain dump everything, right? And then you move things over to the daily plan. And your daily plan is based off of the things that are important. And then it's got an area for projects, context. It's got a little area where you can learn the method of the chaos control. You can kind of set it up how you want, but essentially your projects are your long-term things where you've got more than one step or more than one task that needs to be accomplished to accomplish the project. Your chaos box is just like your brain dump, and then you move the things that you're trying to accomplish in a specific day over to your daily plan. And those, when you check them off, they're good. If you don't check them off, they move over to the next day. And then it reminds you that needs to be taken care of. So I just picked up this app. I think it's free. If I remember correctly, I picked it up a couple months ago, and that'll tell you how much I've used it because I have one thing in there. So I do need to get better at that. Hopefully that's something that I can work on, and feel free to keep listening so you can maybe, we'll try and get somebody on here that's good with time management, time hacks, calendar, scheduling, what have you. And kind of dig deeper into that because that's something I know I need to get better at. And so thank you very much for the question. Jake from State Farm. No, I'm kidding. Jake from Houston. How can I set and prioritize goals to ensure progress? Well, that's a good one. Jake, thank you for the question. I think I will refer back to a comment that I said earlier, which is self-reflection, right? And it kind of goes along with time management and procrastination and all of that stuff. And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but a lot of this ties in together. And that's why it's important for you to understand. I think that the first thing that you need to do is where do you want to be? All right, so you need to you almost have to begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say. Begin with the end in mind, right? So if you know I think I've talked about this on the show before, on one of the other episodes. I have a goal of getting my private pilot's license and beyond, right? So I know that that's the end game. Now I have to kind of reverse engineer that and figure out where it is that I need to start. The first thing, which I've already done, is I've filed my paperwork with the FAA in order to start the process of getting my student pilot certificate, right? So I filed that paperwork. Now I have to take that paperwork to a certified flight instructor who will sign it off once I get my Class 3 medical, which I still have yet to do. So I need to find an FAA medical examiner. So, and I'm not trying to give you the lessons about how to become a private pilot. I'm just using this as an example. So I know where I need to be, where I want to be. I want to have my private pilot certificate. And obviously, I know that it takes a certain amount of hours, but what's the starting point for that, right? So the starting point is I have to file this paperwork with the FAA. So I did that. I then have to take that paperwork and get my medical certificate. I still have to do that. Once I have my medical and this paperwork, I take them to a certified flight instructor, and they sign off on it and file it with the FAA, and then I get a copy of that, and that is my student pilot certificate. So now that authorizes me to actually fly in the left seat of an aircraft for training purposes with an instructor up to my solo time. And then, there's other things that go into it, like I got to complete a ground school, whether that's at a flight school or whether that's on my own time, and then take the written exam. then you take the written exam, and then you do your flight lessons, and you build up time until you hit your 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, whatever it takes. The minimum is 40, but whatever it takes you to get ready and signed off to do your dang it, what is it called? Basically where an FAA examiner comes in and you do your check ride. There you go. So you do your check ride with your FAA examiner. And then after that, if you pass, then, and you have your written and you've got all your hours, then you're issued your private pilot certificate. So, but there's obviously there's a number of steps in that. So where I have to know where I want to be. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that some people have an issue with, is because what they want as the end goal can change so often and so frequently that they don't even know where to begin. So you have to have a clear endpoint in mind in order to even be able to start on the journey of moving forward on it. Once you have that clear goal in mind, that clear endpoint, then you can kind of start reverse engineering what you want to do and the steps to get there. But it takes self-reflection. It takes, beginning with the end in mind, figuring out what that end step is, and then research all the steps that are required to do that. Reach out to people that are in the field, or whatever it is. I don't know what you want to do. Maybe you want to be an MMA fighter, or go deep sea dive, whatever it is, man. Like I wish you all the best with it, but you need to decide where you want to be, and then reverse engineer the process to figure out how to do that. So, and as far as the prioritization, the end goal, so the end game, that's the goal, right? And then you have steps that lead you to that goal. So what do you want to do first? Like, is there a time limit on things, those are things that are going to be, those are items that might affect your decision. Is there a time limit on the things that you want to get done? So when it comes to prioritizing, the goals themselves, at least from my perspective, they are the end point, right? That's where you want to be. So you need to figure out how you need to figure out that end goal and prioritize them based on whether it's time or importance to you or importance to those that you that you love and care for. But the one thing I will say with that is, if it's not important to you, it won't be important enough for you to work hard on, right? And so it has to be important enough for you that you're willing to devote the time and effort and energy necessary to accomplish the goal. Like, you cannot set a goal that benefits somebody else, but it's not something that you're really into. You know what I mean? It has to be something that you have a desire and a passion to achieve. Because without that desire and passion, you're going to, going back to the whole burnout thing, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to start questioning, well, why in the hell am I putting all this effort in for something I don't give a shit about? Pardon my language. Well, you already know. We cuss on the podcast sometimes, and, anyways, so you're going to start to ask, why am I caring about something, or why am I putting so much time and effort into something that I could care less about? And that's where the buy-in has to come. You have to decide that this is important enough for you, that you want to put in that time and effort and the energy that it's going to take to get there. So, yeah, I mean, the consistency is on you, man. Like, I hate to say it, but that nobody can motivate you to do something but you. You have to decide that and that's why I say it. It's got to be important enough for you that it becomes a self-motivator. You can't be doing this crap for somebody else and expect you to stay on task and stay motivated and stay consistent, right? So hopefully that helps. Thank you for the question. That was from Jake. All right, Jake, thank you for the question very much. Excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat there. All right. Okay. So, all right. James from New York. Hopefully this isn't my brother-in-law. I don't think he knows that I actually do this, so I highly doubt that it is. But James from New York says, how do you deal with negative feedback and criticism? And how do you deal with it in a constructive way? Well, I'll reference the other girl's comment earlier about me being misogynistic. I think negative feedback and criticism is often comes from a place of misunderstanding, right? So the key there is trying to remove the personal nature from it and not take it as an attack. And what I find funny about it is when it comes to perfect strangers, I can take negative feedback all day long. Like, because at the end of the day, I don't answer to strangers, if that makes sense. I mean, I do in this particular sense with the podcast, but I am more likely to get offended or feel criticized in a negative way from my loved ones than I am from anybody else. My wife and my children in particular, probably, and I think that's pretty standard across the board. But as hard as it is to remove yourself from that, I think in most cases, not all, because matter of fact, I've got a buddy right now that's going through a divorce where his wife, soon to be ex-wife, is extremely, extremely condescending and rude. At some point you got to decide, like, you deserve better. But I think in most cases, the criticism and the feedback comes from a place of love, not from a place of disdain or disgust or hatred or anything like that when it comes to your loved ones. Now, when it comes to perfect strangers, I think a lot of times that negative feedback or the criticism comes from misunderstanding, right? So when it's somebody that you don't know that's giving you this feedback, try and understand or try and get to a point of understanding of where they're at, right? And that's why, like with the girl's comment, I think her name was Emily. At least that's what the email said, that email header. But when she said, why are you such a misogynist? Why do you hate women? Or whatever it is that she said. And I can go back to it if I need to. But, at first I was kind of taken aback when I first read the comment. And just to clarify, I pulled this stuff up yesterday. So a lot of this stuff I haven't seen. For whatever reason, I was slacking, kind of getting back to that whole thing is like procrastinating. I'm not really good at all that, but I am working on getting better. But so when I pulled it up and I kind of saw it and I was like, it threw me back. It's like, when have I ever said anything that's negative about women? The only thing that I think I've ever said was, and that's when I was trying to go back and understand, like, okay, how did I miscommunicate what my intent is? And so for me, that's why that was one of the first comments that I wanted to address tonight, was that one, because I felt like it was important for me to clarify, if we haven't clarified enough on the Existential Man podcast, what the actual intent of the Existential Man podcast is. It has nothing to do with degrading women or talking down to women or being negative about women. It has to do with making men better, right? And focusing on a number of key areas, be it, physical and mental health, well-being, finances, relationships, self-improvement, those types of things. So I don't recall in any of the episodes specifically of me being completely negative towards women. I know that there's probably things that I've said that could be potential triggers for somebody who is ready to be triggered, maybe, for lack of a better term. But James, I don't know, man. Like, you got to figure out how to separate the personal from. You got to figure out how to separate the personal from it if you can. And like I said, it's harder to do with people that you love and care about than it is from perfect strangers. Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing I could do. I will offer this. And I think this is good, and this is universally good, right? So do whatever you can to not react in the moment. And I know that sometimes it's hard, especially when you feel like you're being personally attacked. But if you can take a step back, take a beat, and try and process the information, process the feedback or the criticism, and try and figure out where it really comes from, that will give you a much better idea as how to proceed from there. And also consider the source, that's the other key, is consider the source. Like, is this someone that you genuinely, truly care about their opinion? Or is this somebody that you may never see or hear from again in your entire life? Matter of fact, I have a story about this, and it happened just recently. I was at the gas station. I was at the checkout counter. I was in the middle of checking out. I was getting ready to pay. Some lady comes up right behind me, and I do not do well with people coming up fast and close behind me. I just, for whatever reason, I can give you reasons why. I won't get into them, but I don't do well with it. So I kind of turned and I looked at her, and she starts asking a question to the cashier, and I'm still in the middle of my transaction with the cashier. And I just told her, I said, look, please don't take this the wrong way. I understand that your time is way more valuable than mine. But if you give me another 30 seconds, I can finish this. I said, I apologize for turning so fast, but I don't do well with people coming up real fast and real close behind me. And I tried to tell her, I said, look, you might want to think about how you approach these things, because you don't know what kind of things people have been through, right? And I wasn't trying to do it in a threatening way. She obviously got very angry. She got upset. She thought that I was being rude. And I said, look, I'm not trying to be rude. It's a principle thing. That's one thing for me. It's like, I am very much about principles, like have respect for other people. And the way that she came in, that's kind of, I made a snide remark about the fact that I know her time is more valuable than mine. And part of the reason why I said that was because of how she came in, and obviously almost expected to be addressed right away, just based on her demeanor and how close she got, while I was still in the middle of transacting or dealing with the cashier at the counter at the time. But I don't know why. I'm not a confrontational person, I don't think, but I am more than willing to point out where I think somebody is wrong. And I'm not trying to be a Karen or a Ken or whatever they call them. It's just, hey, look, man, sometimes there's principles, and a lot of it has to do with just general respect. Respect somebody else's time, respect what somebody else is in the middle of, give them 30 seconds to finish their transaction, and they'll be out of your way. It's that simple. So I know I kind of went off topic. I'm sorry. But as far as like the negative criticism, negative feedback or whatever, take a beat. Don't respond right away. Definitely don't respond with emotion. And by taking a beat and not responding right away, hopefully that will help by not responding with emotion. And again, consider the source. So, guys, I do have more questions, and I would like to get to them all, but I just don't have the time tonight. But I really hope that some of what I've answered, all right, I'll answer one more. Mia, I don't know where you're from. When are we going to talk about, okay, so Mia asks, when are you guys going to have somebody on that's good with finances? I don't know. The problem I think with finances is finding somebody that's the right fit. And I think my concern with doing that right now, and for the last, since we started, has been kind of the uncertainty when it comes to financial sector, between housing market being way overinflated. And I'm sorry, I know I've got plenty of friends that are realtors, and y'all are probably making bank, but housing market is way overinflated. It's ridiculous. And I know a lot of you are upset about the interest rate rising. It needed to. Something had to get it under control, because it's out of control. But I digress. I don't know, Mia. I hope to have somebody on here that's a little bit better with finances than I am. I don't think I'm terrible at finances, but I'm not great at them. And I definitely can't go into the nuances of investing and saving and different strategies for increasing all that kind of stuff and making it better. But I would like to have somebody on that can help that. Actually, my goal is, what I would really like to do is get somebody on that's good with finances and also business related stuff. I'm kind of I don't want to say I'm a serial entrepreneur, because I'm not. Not really, I don't think. But I have all kinds of weird ideas that I think would be a great idea for a company. And my wife, bless her heart, she listens to all of them and probably thinks most of them are absolutely batshit crazy. But she entertains them at least, and I love her for it. So, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to get somebody on here that's good with finances, and also maybe an attorney or a tax strategist or something like that. Who'd be really good would be Carlton Dennis. I don't know if you guys have seen him from the Tax Alchemy channel. I watched some of his stuff on YouTube, and that dude is smart as a whip. I would love to get him on here at some point. So if anybody knows Carlton, let him know. I'd like to chat with him, because I think he would be good. And talking about, side hustles and building a business and maybe strategies to build a business while you're working a full-time job. And I know that there's plenty of people out there that are talking about it, but I will say most of the content that I've seen regarding building a side hustle while working a full-time job is fluff at best. What I want to find is somebody that can put a legit strategy in place, or help put a legit strategy in place, so that you can kind of have like a game plan moving forward. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the game plan. So Mia, I hope you keep listening. I will try and work on getting somebody on here to talk about finances and side hustles, businesses, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can make that happen. Guys, listen. This is my first ever live stream for the Existential Man. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you got some value out of it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Keep submitting your questions. Also, make sure you check out our website, and you can actually go on there, send us a comment, leave us an email, check out the Facebook page. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe in your favorite podcast player. Listen, going back to the whole procrastination and not being fully prepared, like, I did not put together all the information slides that I needed to. I just really wanted to get on here and talk to you guys tonight. This is long overdue. I've been talking about doing a live stream forever. And to Brandon and Patrick, who asked about it, or who recommended it to me, either through private conversation or otherwise, here we go. So this is one of hopefully many future live stream episodes. But guys, that's it for me tonight. Hopefully the answers that I gave you to the questions have helped you out, given you some insight, given you some information. And please keep submitting those questions. Also, check down in the links in the description. I will make sure I add our phone number so you can call and leave a voicemail, because I'd love to add those to the streams so that you can actually hear your own questions being asked and answered. And eventually we'll get to the point where we can actually do video questions as well, so we can bring you on and actually have a video question. In addition, if you check out our website and you follow the links down in the description below, you can get to our website where you'll see actually a link where you can apply to be a guest on the show if you feel like you've got some insight to add. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever live stream of the Existential Man Podcast. I will hope to check you out, or I hope to catch you and see you in the next episode. You guys have a good one. Take care.